Hello, doctors and students, and welcome to yet another UCM podcast. I am your host today, Tony Hook, and joining me is Dr. Vivek Soham with Origin Modern Health in Ocean Beach, California. Doc, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited.
There we go. So you're in Ocean Beach. That was a place I used to hang out with when I lived in California. So I was over in Claremont. And so it's such a chill place over there in Ocean Beach. I'd head down Sunset Cliffs Boulevard. I'd grab a carne asada burrito at Johnny Manana's before heading to the beach. That was my thing. I think your office is actually off of Sunset Boulevard, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sunset Cliffs and Voltaire.
Sunset Cliffs. Yeah, that's it.
Sunset Cliffs and Voltaire, and about a 5-minute walk, like 3 blocks away from the beach. You can see the ocean from our top office. So
that's cool. Yeah. It's a neat little area, man. Yeah, absolutely. So, to clue in our audience to your practice, what are you practicing there? What's your philosophy? Who are you serving? Just give us a little background there.
Yeah. So we're a NUCA upper cervical office, NUCA chiropractic, focusing on the head and neck region, as most of your listeners already know, or people looking into upper cervical chiropractic as a solution. We track everything pretty meticulously in the office. So about just over 75% of our office is vertigo, migraine headaches, and hormonal imbalances, in that order of sort of popularity. Majority of it is female base. We tend to market towards that in general. My mom, my grandma, my sister raised me, and grateful to them. And I love serving that portion of the community. It makes me feel a little bit more connected with home, but obviously not exclusive to just helping women. And yeah, it's a very different style of practice from the original location, a little bit from what you know. We have 2 offices, one in Ocean Beach and one in Carlsbad.
Carlsbad, that's the other one. Yes. Yeah. Man. Oh, so I've known you since you came into the upper cervical world. I came into the upper cervical world about 9 years ago. And I've known you since, I think were you at the first NUCA conference I went to?
I think so. Close to.
Right around that.
I transferred from the Welsh Institute of Chiropractic in Wales to finish my chiropractic doctorate in Life West in 2016. And then I think my first NUCA conference was it was the spring 2017.
We share the first NUCA conference date.
Then, I've been to every single one bar one.
There we go. I got you by one then.
You got me by one.
That was it. That was the spring of 2017. I think it was April or something like that. Yeah. Yes, Irvine. Yep.
Yeah, that was. Hey, I obviously kept coming back ever since. So
me too. I don't know. We're gluttons for punishment. But in those 9 years, I've watched you go through different things. We'll just say it that way. You've had quite the journey, isn't that right?
Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster. Student life is student life, and most people who've going through the program have their trials and tribulations, and there's the general aspect of life, COVID and parent passing and baby being born and everything else in between. I don't know how much into the weeds we want to get into it, but it's definitely been something where it's been grinding it out, but enjoying the process.
Well, and it is something I want to kind of get into, because there's, we focus a lot on practice growth. We focus a lot on, getting systems to put into place and supporting the doctor and stuff like that. But there's also a degree where you're a business owner, and life doesn't just stop when you have whether it be a life situation, life trial that's happening, or a practice trial, or, a personal thing that you're going through, and what happens is you have to find a way to push through those things. And when those trials hit, it could be very nerve wracking. And so, and I know you've had some trials and tribulations. You've been tested, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into today a little bit. Not too far into the weeds, I guess, but
Yeah.
Because I know a number of doctors are they have this stuff happen. They end up feeling overwhelmed. They could feel crushed by the practice, or frustrated, or just a little lost at times. They're trying to have that breakthrough year, or that breakthrough at all.
Yeah.
And starting to look at the practice where it is, and going and just kind of ask themselves, what's it going to take to finally get some traction? How am I going to get momentum? Or even worse, this happens, I talked to them, should I even be a chiropractor? Should I just throw in the towel? And I see doctors struggling with this. Is this something you can relate to? Let me ask you.
Probably more than more than I would probably want to admit. I'll put it this way: if I have single mom, and I mentioned at the beginning that mom, my grandma, my sister raised me. Life wasn't exactly rainbows and butterflies. Slept on the floor until I was 15. Me and my mom and my sister shared the same room. And I've wanted to be a chiropractor since I was 9. So going through a whole decade before I even got my first chiropractic adjustment, because we couldn't afford it, having the conviction or the stubbornness, depending on who you ask, say, hey, look, how do you know you really want to be a chiropractor? And I'm like, this is what I want to do. But you haven't even experienced it. This is what I want to do. To deciding to go through 3 years of chiropractic school, starting over again at Life West, and it not necessarily I was told that I was going to start where I left off, in clerical errors and a couple of other things. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I make a better situation out of this? Is I'm going to go be a better business person, a better adjuster, while I have to redo all these classes. And you get to this sort of final endpoint, and you graduate, and a number of licensing issues, and trying to get your license in time to practice. And it's there's this constant barrage of okay, small minor setbacks, and you definitely ask yourself, what am I doing wrong?
What am I doing? Yeah.
What am I doing right is where I have to keep reminding myself, okay, well, how did we get here? Bear in mind, and this is probably part of the journey that a lot of people don't know, I openly advocated against a particular chiropractic organization while I was in school. It went against my personal beliefs and philosophy of less is more, and the upper cervical area is the best place to adjust, in my opinion, with that level of precision. And I had to take a job with them, and I worked for them for 5 months, and I didn't want to do it. And seeing 75 people a day, it blew out my shoulder, and sprained my wrist adjusting 300-pound plus patients, and broke a drop table doing it. And after 4 months, I was like, this is pre-COVID. I definitely thought the economy wasn't in a place where I should open my own practice. The goal was, I knew exactly how long I was going to work there, make some money, and go back to plan A, which is open my own practice.
Right.
5 days before the lockdown, they fired me unjustly, but didn't have any way to prove either which way. And COVID happened, and I said, screw it, I'm going to go back to plan A and open my own office in the middle of COVID. So living in Redlands, Riverside area, if anyone knows where that is, it's not anywhere near San Diego in terms of convenience. And after many months of driving back and forth, about 80 to 100 miles one way, I settled on a place in Rancho Bernardo, San Diego. And I commuted 6 days a week because I knew this is where I wanted to build a practice and raise a family. And went through all the checklist of, hey, this is what I want in my practice. And October 20th was the day I took my first patient, 2020.
Okay.
And that's what we thought was the end of COVID. And it still sort of dragged out a little bit more past that, a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
But
The mindset, everybody's mindset was still that way. Yeah.
yeah. And you live in this chiropractic bubble when you're in school, and the world is not what it is when you're in this chiro bubble when you're in school. And I have a background in business. I have a background in investment banking, consulting. So I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I should know how to, should know how to do this. Right. And it was, and I say this with the utmost amount of pride, but also humility, that this has nothing I've done in my life, no matter how much stress in crap that I've had to deal with, has been like this. I can say that I've tried to apply all the skill sets and helping these people that make an extra 10 to $50 million a month. My team was responsible for doing that. Applying it to what I'm doing here was drastically different. Businesses
Yeah,
don't
it's apples and oranges. Yeah.
they don't scale the same way. They don't, and then
Right.
on top of that, throwing in COVID,
Right.
and everyone kept trying to tell me to give myself grace because COVID doesn't count. It's going to take you an extra 3 years. And I'm like, that's not a thing. All these other doctors telling me that they're having record years during COVID. The amount of people, you know this, right? How many docs said that COVID years were some of their best years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think Facebook ads had washed everyone out yet.
Plus you were a new practice.
I
I
was
mean,
new
that's it. You know,
practice.
if you're established, now you can hit referrals. You know, you've got trust, you've got all of these different things, and you know, so you didn't have that though. So you had a baby practice,
And
getting hit with a a pandemic, and I mean pandemic, and you know, you're feeling it, and you're trying different things. I watched you spin your wheels. You know, we spin
yeah,
our wheels together, and
yep,
some of it, and it's like, oh man, I mean, seemed like it was one thing after another.
it was brutal. Here's the hilarious part of like this whole like COVID situation is like we're talking about spinning wheels. Like, yeah, sure, there was like this, like my landlord didn't allow me to do a grand opening, right? There was this because of COVID situations, the timing of the practice. Like, I also didn't live for the first 6 months of my practice. I didn't live, like, I lived 82 miles away from my office,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
that's you're
and I had,
disconnected.
yeah, there was, and would I do it again to an extent? Yes, because I love the process, the amount of stuff that I took away from it. I had to keep telling myself, like, okay, what lesson do I need to learn in this? What lesson do I need to learn in this so that I
Mhm.
can be better? And it's hard, it's hard to say this because a lot of doctors, especially like some of my mentors, like practice technique wise, would say, focus on getting quality results. The rest will follow. And it's like, well, I need people to get quality results on. Otherwise, like getting people through the door,
But what
networking.
the problem sometimes hits because and if we have some people watching this or listening to this right now who are like, exactly, I need people. But what can happen is you get so hyper focused on I don't have anybody that
Mhm.
it can eat away at you, right? Like it kind of
Oh,
plagues you and it changes your thought process and even the right. I mean, is that what you kind of went through?
yeah, like it's it was it's hard. I put it this way, like my cultural background, there's a lot of, like, I'm Indian. There's a lot of processes in terms of meditation and gratitude that's similar. Like a lot of people would know to practice gratitude, and it's not exclusive to my cultural background or where my ancestors come from. But using that philosophy of practicing gratitude, even in those moments, was so dang difficult. Like honestly, it
Hmm.
was so difficult to be like,
Hmm.
I'm grateful for the person I see. Like there was days where I was coming in driving 2 hours to come in just to see one person. Just
Wow. Yeah.
like it's like
Yeah.
it was a mental challenge. And even when I got down here and did all that, it definitely is. It's hard to take your I don't want to be this, like, we have this mentality as entrepreneurs, we need to grind it out and hustle through. And it's all well and good listening to the 2% of success stories on Instagram and everywhere else, where it's like, yeah, I'm like, sure, like David Goggins, like my feet were bleeding, but I just kept running because I didn't want to feel like, I told myself
Right.
I don't feel pain. And yeah, but is that healthy? Like there's a lot of
Right.
unhealthy habits you create as an entrepreneur just to push through. And there's those small realizations in there where I'm like, okay, you got to shift on what you have. How do you create really good customer experience? So what do I do with all this extra time? Like,
Okay.
and so I need to go back to it. We talked about it in our office strategic planning 2 weeks ago to know what the rest of the team is doing for the year, and everyone's on the same page. And it's like one of the things that I did in reflection, I bring it up, that we referenced last week, was I stopped writing handwritten letters to my patients, welcoming them to the practice. And I did that for every single patient for at least the first 200. And it just like, hey, like it took something from my consultation exam. It's great. Seeing you chatting about XYZ, take some really personal points, welcome them to, at the time we were Nimbus Brain and Spine, welcoming them to the Nimbus Brain and Spine family.
Right.
And I think I at least got 8 or 9 referrals from that. Like patients were like, hey, I put it on my fridge because my doctor has never spent the time
I, I've
in,
never had that.
never
Yeah.
had that, right?
Yeah.
And so when you have that much time, like what do you do with the time? And so that's where I was spending a lot of like realizing,
Yeah.
okay, let's stop focusing on what I don't have. Let's start focusing on what I can do in the time that I have. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and in granted, when we met and started working together in that period of time, like I was still doing those things, but it still honestly wasn't enough to tip me over the into the black. It wasn't enough to be like, hey,
Right.
this was great. But like that was just one of those things that I remember distinctly of like, oh, you know what? Like how do I create better patient experience? Like, focusing on what I have, focusing on the people that I have in my office, and loving on them as much as I can
Mm-hmm.
while I'm waiting for, and um, shifting my, I shouldn't say waiting. Someone said to me, change your energy from that waiting energy. When you're having that, and like when you have waiting energy, you're not in that receiving energy. Stop waiting. Stop waiting. And I'm like, oh, I'm just waiting, just waiting. And it's like, why are you wait? Like you're constantly waiting. And
Right.
so that was a hard concept. It took me a long time to get out of that particular, to realize what that meant.
We
And
have a way of saying it in our, and I would say prepare for growth.
yeah,
If you don't have it, well, start preparing for it. Do the things that you can do, the things that you have control over. And that's what I'm hearing you say is like,
yeah,
that's, yeah. Yeah. Cause I think there's a degree where like people say, okay, just have perseverance. Okay. Well, what do I do? Like, are we just talking straight grit? Like, just like you said, my feet are bleeding, but I push on, be a man. I say no to pain. Okay. I mean, that's a piece of the puzzle, right? Maybe. But here's what I'm hearing you say. A couple things you said to me that stood out. You become on those negative things that happen when you're disappointed, when you're not seeing where you're not where life throws you a curveball, or you've got that trouble patient, or you've got that business issue, personal issue, whatever it is. What lesson do I need to learn from this? Just going, okay, let me hit the brakes. How do I get better?
mm-hmm.
Right? That's what I'm hearing you say. It's like asking yourself, just how do I get better? How do I help this? How do I grow from this? What can I walk away? Because if we walked away from every problem with something that we learn, in theory, we would have less problems, or at
Yeah.
least we'd be able to go through them better.
It's in the moment. That's what I'm saying to myself, but also like it's like a balance between giving yourself grace of, okay, yeah, sure, you want excellence and you're striving for excellence. How much of this could you control? How much of this can you not? What are you like stressing yourself into oblivion for?
Mhm.
And like my mom always said, it's like, hey, did you give it your all? Like if I whatever grade I got, she's like, it was never her chastising me for this or that. It was like, did you give it your best? Did you study as best as you could? I'm like, yeah. We can't be upset with yourself because there's nothing else you could have done because you said you gave it your all.
You laid
Now,
it all out. Yeah.
do you need to do something differently? Sure, go away and think about it. But if you didn't do everything you could, then you have something to work on. You know you didn't do everything you could,
Right.
right? So instead of feeling sorry for yourself, like acknowledge that you created this and move forward with it.
Right.
And so just taking those small tidbits into practice, it's like it's a slog. There was at least a 2-year period in which I sold absolutely everything that I had.
Mm.
And I was at a point where like I had no money left after this was what 2 years into practice. No, sorry, a year into practice. I sold off the rest of my portfolio, and it was a good chunk. Like Nuka, setting up a Nuka office isn't cheap. Watching the overhead increase a little bit, trying to manage that, and it's like, okay, we're on a 30-day revolving clock of
Mm.
are we going to
Hmm.
make it? Like
Yeah.
legitimately. And I think when I'm having those conversations with him, like I've got like 30 days or 42 days until I default or I can't make a payment on a loan for the equipment or I can't pay my rent. And that period lasted 18 months. Living in that space for 18 months was horrendous.
Right. Right.
At least 18 months. And then it
Yeah.
starts to
That's a
go,
tough spot to be in. I know. I'm gonna say this. I know some docs who have been in that place for years, and they're just stuck. Now, I don't know if it was as intense as hey, we're on a 30-day revolving clock, but there's some that they're just not able to get that traction, and but they're hanging on. You know.
yeah, somehow you find a way. It's like I tell you, there's months where I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do, and then you have faith, right? There's a really good deep aspect of faith, and um, I I was telling someone today I was on a podcast and describing how small our world is and how this podcast became. Michaela wanted a shout out, so Michaela's getting her shout out right now.
There she is. She's weaseled her way into this podcast. How
Yeah,
does that happen?
she is.
Hi,
What is it?
Michaela.
It's like you didn't know how, like how these like random fibers intertwine, and the reason why I bring this up is I didn't know that's how I was going to bring up Michaela, but to explain to this patient who was interviewing me today for this podcast, and I remember, even though we're different faiths, you praying for me weekly on our calls and you standing by my side, right? That's a support system in itself. When you have absolutely nothing left to give, and there's still someone there by your side. And for the first handful of years of my practice, like I saw that, like some of my friends had spouses and other people to support them and other incomes coming in, and they're like, the pressure isn't there, and like my back's up against the wall type of situation. And then the latter portion of my of where we are right now, I've got a wife and a baby, and like having someone there also believing in you and cheering you on. And
Yeah, yeah.
like I'm not gonna, for me, the cliche of when you have a kid things change in a way where you work differently and harder. I don't have that cliche. Sorry, everyone keeps asking me, it's like, hey, does it happen? I'm like, I think
Like,
I
no,
was,
you
I
were
hate,
already working hard.
I hate to say, like, I'm
You
only say
already
it
had the
once.
pedal.
Yeah,
You already had the pedal to the metal. You
I
can't
was,
go more to the metal.
we literally couldn't, right? Like
Yeah,
I was already at peak, and every
right.
time I think I was out of gears, I would find another gear. Have I found more gears since my daughter's been born? Yeah, but I don't want to give her all the credit for that because these situations arise, and I don't want someone to be like, someone did tell me, I one of our corporate contracts is a very successful tax attorney, and I asked him like, hey, like, how did you get to where you are right now? He's like, the biggest thing for me was when I had kids. This was well before I had my daughter. He said, the moment you have a kid, like everything changes. He's like, have more kids. He says, the more kids you have, the harder you work.
Better
And
you'll
I'm like,
be.
that's
For
not
some.
a linear ratio of like success for me here. So that's why I say that, where I'm like acknowledging like I don't want someone out there being like, I'm struggling to put food on the table. I need to go have
I
kids.
need to go make a baby. Yeah, right now.
That's that's not it
It's like
just doesn't
you're
have
drowning in the ocean and someone hands you a baby. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But to bring that back there, it's like why I tremendously respect and appreciate you, like deep down. Like when I'm having wins and I don't talk to you for 6 months at a time, I genuinely am thinking about you. I'm like, I can't wait to fill
Man.
Tony and what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get to that because I want to get to these wins. And again, the whole purpose of this here of this topic is to there's people that are watching and listening to this, and they're going to be watching this replay, and they're going to be going, man, that's where I am right now. We just got it. We every year we do an upper cervical practice survey, and there's about 1 out of 10 practices that are super struggling. That's my phrasing, by the way. They're in that like, oh man, am I gonna make it? Okay. And then there's another, percentage that is also those that are just like, man, I just can't break through. They feel like
Hmm.
there's this cap. So there's a discouragement. And if you don't guard that, man, you can get down on yourself, man, and so like you mentioned the support group. Like, hey, do you have people around you that uplift you, and maybe do you have people that can encourage you and speak into that? And I'm glad you received that, and I'm happy to pray for you anytime, brother. So,
Yeah.
and there's that, and then you mentioned too, focusing on only what you have control over, like just recognizing that certain things are just out of your control, like but I'm going to do my best that I possibly can. I'm going to leave it all on the field, using that analogy, and I'm going to go for it, right? And just taking ownership of that.
And it's like you say this, and I really want to speak to the probably 20 to 30% of those docs. Oh, I've had crippling anxiety and depression. And I'm not a person who like athlete and everything else. Like I'm not a person who suffered through years of depression until like practice. And being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, and maybe when we get into some of the deeper stuff, you'll hear like it is really effing lonely. Like even you have a wife, kids, you have best friends, maybe a handful of people, and it's still lonely. That's the crippling part. No one understands. Someone will
Mm,
say to you, the amount
how
of
could they?
times, yeah, like some amount of times, like some of the closest people have told me, and like I've hyped my mom up, and I don't know if I'll get into a one singular negative that probably and it doesn't erase all the good that my mom has said, but just like the amount of people who've said maybe like just go work for someone else. Why do you want to open your office? And now I actually encourage students. I'm like, go work for somebody else. Don't go make mistakes on other people's dime. Don't go hyper learn. You talk about like super struggling. Don't go super learn. Don't go hyper learn on your own and
Right.
like sacrifice your health. What does it cost me
Right.
to do this?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it, and that's why it gets again. It's effing lonely because
Right.
how many people resonate with that story, and then we're all working. We're all at the conference together. We're all working together. We're all doing upper cervical. And there's like 1,000 lonely people out there who still somehow like aren't realizing that it's about collaboration and not competition. It's what we say in our office all the time with every like I'll tell you mom's clutch moment. If I give you one nugget of business advice, people out there, collaboration, not competition. The amount of random quality connections you can make through referrals, and you can argue back and forth. If you have a referral only practice, then your practice can die at any moment. Sure. I've had people say that. You need to have multiple avenues of where patients are coming from. Sure. But if you went and spoke to 10 personal trainers and 2 of them became referral sources. And they send you 1 patient every other month. Right now, you're averaging 1 patient a month just from personal trainers. Let's say you spoke to 50. Now you have 5 patients coming in every month from personal trainers. And then you multiply that by multiple different professions, and you come at it from this approach of how do I help create a healthier community? And you go and back that up with your results. That is probably the total tangent, the biggest clutch move we've made. Because
Okay.
and that's
So
that's
professional referrals.
professional referrals. And that is a long-term play. And that's what shifts your perspective. You're gonna be like, all right, I'm playing the long game here.
Yeah.
Instead of instead of focusing on everything you don't have in this one moment, instead of focusing on being lonely in this one moment, if you say to yourself, okay, what's the number of times that I have to speak to someone to say yes? Not this like hustler grit mentality, just like, okay, sure, there's a part of that in there. And then you multiply that and you go to people and you offer something to them by collaborating with them to make them look better because you have quality care that's going to enhance someone's life, not compete with taking someone out of their business, adding to their business value. And you like dial that authentic language in from you for yourself, it's coming from the bottom of your heart, where the physical therapist has been like, hey, you make us look better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
There you go.
they don't have to spend 12 weeks in my program. They're only spending
Right.
6. Great. This is good. Right? That's when it fills your cup up, where you start realizing like you're giving, in not exclusive to my background, but like granddad always said, those were the least to give the most. And it's like, yeah, even though things weren't peachy, I don't even know half of my colleagues in Nuka know how disastrous this last 6 years of my life have been.
Right.
In moments.
But see, and that's what I want to get to too, because like your degree of gratitude that you would, it's a mindset thing. So you had to mind your mindset. You had to mind your mind, right, so to speak. And so otherwise, you would have gone to an even darker place, and you're able to come out of that periodically, right, and catch some air and get enough.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to count my blessings. I'm going to, like you said, the word practicing gratitude. That the key word, practicing.
Yeah.
That means you have to get yourself to find something to be grateful for. You have to get yourself to say, you know what? Thank you that I have this. Thank you for that one person or whatever. Thank you for that correction. Thank you that that person's holding and that they are saying, you got to find those wins so you can get, like you said, wind in your sails or fuel in your tank, whatever you want to say. Like that's huge. And I've known that there's a degree of putting on the happy face, you're around other colleagues and stuff like that,
Yeah.
But what's the alternative? You just let yourself be crushed, No, there is a degree of sticking through it. And I know one of the characteristics that you've honed through your trials is staying focused on the mission of upper cervical. You've always been mission minded. Like you're talking about, he who has the least gives the most. And I know that and I'm not talking about just your practice, but the greater mission of serving, equipping, raising up docs. You've helped out on the board for, I think the entire, like every year it seemed like, and so can you share with everybody a little bit of what good can come out even through that kind of stuff? Because I mean, there's also these gems that were produced while you're going through some junk.
Yeah. And we tend to get into this mindset of when I have time, when I have money, when I have XYZ, I'll do this. I'll become this person. And it's like, I've been on the Nuka board every year since 2019, like a volunteer, essentially, minus 1 year, where I stepped into UCRF and was consulting for UCRF, and then ended up as the vice president of the Upper Cervical Research Foundation. And I've learned so much over the years. I took my knowledge of that scaling consulting, investment banking, and to nonprofits and helping strategically redevelop and build at least UCRF's board. And I hope Craig and Gordon and a handful of others will be like nodding along if they're listening to this and be like, yeah, like we put in some serious hours
Yeah.
to streamline over the last 3 years. And people are like, well, we haven't done a lot of research. I'm using your line of preparing for growth. We spent the last 3 years building a kick-ass board and team in every microsystem you can think of, and to the point where they will even question me, like, do we need this system right now? I'm like, yes, we do. Like, let me just keep doing my thing, because when we hit the nitrous, we're just going to keep producing research. We're going to keep helping our colleagues. We're going to keep helping the profession and
Yeah.
doing these things, right? And so you're setting all
Profession.
those things up.
Hmm.
And what has it led to? I didn't do it because I wanted the title. I genuinely did not expect to. I was expecting to sit on the board when I hit my 40s, not in my 20s. I does it get me any preferential treatment? No. Every now and then it's great someone reads up somewhere that vice president of an upper cervical research foundation, but no one knows what the foundation. So it's like it's moot after a certain point. I think it's just good karma. It's good karma. Like we have a saying in our office: we don't take patients we can't help. That's why we do free consults. We're really good at making sure we send people to the right place and refer out when necessary, like really refer out, even though we can help everybody. But if their health goal is this and we can't deliver this, send them to the person who can deliver that. And it's the same thing with UCRF. It's like we're making sure that we do all the things necessary to equip our colleagues. And it's come back and people ask me questions and be like, oh, I know someone, I know Dr. V, he's in San Diego. And so a referral will come in that way, shape or form.
Right.
But where maybe I'm putting in good stock for the future. I can't tell you today that it's been like opened the floodgates, but it's fulfilling. It makes me happy.
Right. Right. But I'm saying like there's good that's come out of your trials, in
Yeah.
that sense, right? Like there's some good there. You've gotten, what is this? You with the military, you've gotten with Navy SEALs?
Yeah. So in San Diego, we've got 4 large bases in San Diego, Navy presence. We, through the work that we've done and patients that we've helped, it's come to a point in which we were taking care of a handful of Navy SEALs that were getting their care paid for by the SEAL Future Foundation. And they were like so taken back by our process and conversation and report that like, oh, this isn't something where we're paying for someone to just go do this thing once. And there's like method to the madness. They loved the pre and post, the objectivity, a lot of that stuff. And so they wanted to see if this could benefit the people that were with the SEAL Future Foundation or the Honor Foundation. And it's led to some decent partnerships with those 2 organizations, a couple of other nonprofits to have care paid for those Navy SEALs. Coolest story I can tell you was a guy who was on the second team through the door after trying to capture a very well-known wanted man. Without, I think everyone would put that together. Most recently, responsible for a lot of attacks on the U.S. And he was blown sideways through a door and told to get back up and run in and keep going. And he was medically retired at like 35. 18 rounds of stem cell injections, some directly into the spinal cord. Nystagmus, his eye movement, it's supposed to be like as a pinhead. His eyes couldn't stay still. They were like the size of a pizza, 18 inches.
Wow. Wow.
Turn his head to the right, would fall to the left. Turn his head to the left, would fall to the right. He would walk around like he's shaking. And you look at him and he looks like he's a bodybuilder. Pure. If he wasn't moving, you'd look at him and he's like, man, that guy is peak.
Yeah. But yeah.
First adjustment day, he turned his head to both sides. No, didn't fall over.
Oh, man.
His eye movement went from 18 inches down to the size of a quarter.
That's huge. He got his life back.
Got his life back. In 6 weeks, he was
Served,
driving himself.
served our country, and you get to serve him.
There you go. And that's like the cool stuff you get to do when you like really hone in on your work. And then that led to us building OVN, our own nonprofit, because we end up predominantly looking only after Navy SEALs through a lot of those contracts. And OVN is the Origin Vitae Network. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. And we have different funds inside that provide scholarship for care, sliding scale scholarship. And one of the funds in there is the Guardian Initiative, and that helps veteran, active duty, first responders, and their family members, because their family members are also impacted by the service of the men and women I've gone through for our country. So it's been really like helpful and eye-opening to like build those funds out and just sort of continue to spread the message of upper cervical into those different communities.
Right. It's good. And I want to get to one last thing here that you're able to share about something that's good. What is this I'm hearing about university?
I don't know.
UC
This
University?
is when I preface this in our text, I thought I told you. This might be the unofficial official launch of people knowing what we're doing, because I can count on both hands how many people know. In 2016, me and one of my best friends decided we should build our own university. And in 2019, in the peak of the shittiness of life that I was going through, I was finally finishing up the paperwork for a degree granting license for a Doctor of Chiropractic program in the states of Arizona, Nevada, and California. So we hold the degree granting license, and we've sat on that since 2019 with the goal of eventually fully building out a university that has NUCA, or say NUCA, upper cervical at its center. I'm biased, I'm going to have NUCA there, of course, but upper cervical at its center. And we, in 2022, either 21 or 22, we were conditionally approved for a grant of $197 million to build the university, as long as we had $21.7 million of liquid cash, which I just told you I spent the last 6 years scraping by.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're not there. I thought this was a 30 to 40 year plan. That was what the terminal end of my career, what you could probably say, is once it's done, we're done. I can make sure that it's there and I don't have to worry about it because we built it sustainably. This year was the year that we incorporated the nonprofit, and we strategically partnered with 7 businesses who've agreed so far, 7 and counting, to donate 10% of net profit every year for the remainder of the lifetime of the business. And so some of these are relatively big businesses. I realize that I can't just open more offices and get donations here or there. Even though we were on TV in September talking about this, that was a pretty cool one. I'll send you the interview when I was on local CBS 8. But yeah, the goal is to build a university. There's not enough people that do what we do. And
agreed.
I've
had the demand far outweighs the supply.
And so if I were to specifically talk about NUCA, because I know the numbers really well, let's say there's 200 and 250 NUCA doctors in the world. There's about 1,500 upper cervical chiropractors, give or take. I might be wrong. You would know more than I do on this one. And there's 8 billion people on this planet. Even if all 1,500 of us were legit at the peak of our game and were able to, and money wasn't an issue, we would not be able to see everyone in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And so in a world that has so much abundance, we talked about gratitude and abundance and grateful for everything I have. There's a reason why I only practice upper cervical in my office. Not because I don't believe anything else doesn't work. There isn't enough of what we do. So providing every single moment of potential time in my office
to that
is the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Building partnerships in some of the coolest ways. There's some big stuff coming. If anyone's listening to this, there will be an official launch at some point where we will talk about what the university is standing for, what it's doing, and like truly, we're talking about building this out from ground up. That's why we're taking the time. That's why everything is like this chipping away, Shawshank Redemption with a tiny little pickaxe, clawing my way out of this, wading through miles of crap. And
Yeah.
I knew what I signed myself up for. I knew what level of ambition and delusion that came with the vision. I hope that I get there in my lifetime. And I hope that this comes to a place where we do have that collaboration, not competition. And that's what I'm
Right.
building, so that
That's
we can
awesome.
have more doctors doing what we do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's technically my whole spiel. I do the whole 8 billion people on this planet spiel more often than you realize. um, because it hits home. It tells people, I'm like, man, like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Given the mission,
Given the
you
mission.
know. Yeah. Yeah. That's solid. And I'm glad that's still your mission because
Yeah.
you had a number of opportunities to throw in the towel, man. A lot of docs that are going through some stuff, and even those that are going to be watching this, right now, and they're it's like, hey, you're taking find the people you can help, and then you never know what's going to come out of it. Case in point, you just had a number of things you just shared, and these are just snapshots. There's other stuff over the
Yeah.
years, even though it was tough, still tough in some ways, right? So
Yeah.
but yet, what are we going to do? We're going to throw in the towel? But you get to the point where you're like, what else could I do? This is what I'm called to do. Could you say it that way?
Yeah. Like what we call is everyone's heard of karma, or we have dharma. Dharma is your life purpose, your soul purpose. And what we saying is what I say is I've met my dharma. I've stared it in the face. I know what my life and my soul purpose is, and I've got chills
Yeah.
thinking about it. I know what I'm here to do,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's the mission, and
Serve.
we keep going
You're serving
until
people.
we keep going
That's
until
it.
we can't.
That's it. Absolutely. So it's hug the cactus and press on. look for look for the wins. Look for the wins. Get your support group. I'm recapping. Focus on what you actually have control over. Learn your lessons of what you can do, even for the tough times. You learn your lessons. You learn what you can from it. Practice gratitude, and look for those opportunities to serve and stay on mission.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Build teams. Do it together. You want to go fast, go
Mm-hmm.
alone. You want to go far, go together.
That's good. That's good.
That's what
I'm
my
gonna write that
granddad
one
used to
down.
say.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yes, that's
You
what he
need,
says. It's translated roughly, but if you want to go fast,
yeah,
go alone. You want to go far, go together.
that's true. That is true. Man, it's good. It's good seeing you again.
Yeah.
um, one last thing. One last thing. Any special word maybe for students, new doctors that might be finding themselves frustrated, starting to have their drive and passion falter a bit, aside from what we've covered?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Build your
No,
team.
no, no, no. I have. This is it. This is it. And this is just because I'm trying to a piece of advice that it is related, but isn't something that I've already said. If you um, if you don't like, in order for you to improve, you have to be recording something. In order for you to figure out what you need to do better, like be better at recording. Like from your patient visits, how long are they holding? How are the measurements? Like put these
Track
things
it.
down into spreadsheets, and
Track it.
and calculate more. Like understand where you truly are, so you know where you really need to go forward, right? Because if you have no bearing of where you are right now, even when you feel horrendously lost, and I'm a sucker for a spreadsheet. I go back and I look at the spreadsheets like, man, like, and I'm just tracking everything. And I'm like, I could do better at adjusting these types of cases, or I could do better. I need
Right.
more advice here. I need to
Yeah.
go seek clarity here. If you know where you are, you can start to reverse engineer it, machete, hack it, whatever you can do to chop through the forest of figuring out what you need to do next. But if you don't know where you are right now, boy, it's like
You're
that's what you
lost.
need to do. That's what you need to do. Don't have like even when I could go on about this forever, but like I'm biased. We're talking about research because then you researched yourself. Forget about doing research for the profession. Research yourself first. Figure out what you need to do to improve.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, a lot of good stuff in here, man. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for staying the course, even when, thank you for staying the course.
Yeah, I'm still signed right now, man. I'm telling you, it's been a hell of a 6 weeks, 8 weeks, making
There
me
you go.
So
Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you.
thank you. Appreciate you too. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And for those listening, watching in, the replay as well, share this podcast with someone that needs to hear it. It might just make a difference. Go team up or Cervical.